I give VH1 credit. The 90s were all about divas in music, and VH1 was at the forefront of really diving into that diva branding. Today we're going to be looking at A Diva's Christmas Carol, starring Vanessa Williams. Born in 1963 in the Bronx, New York City, New York, USA, and raised in Millwood, New York, Vanessa Lynn Williams' birth announcement read, "Here she is, Miss America." Her parents had met while studying music at Fredonia State Teachers College, and they each taught elementary school music. Vanessa's mother, Helen, also played the organ at St. Teresa's Church in Briarcliff Manor, and from an early age, Vanessa would help by turning the pages of her sheet music. She grew up studying dance, French horn, piano, and violin, and was offered the Presidential Scholarship for Drama by Carnegie Mellon University, but instead took a scholarship to Syracuse, where she studied musical theater. She would remain a student at Syracuse for 2 years, but would drop out in order to fulfill her contractual obligations after winning the title of Miss America in 1984. Ironically, Williams had only started entering beauty pageants with Miss Syracuse 1983 because it was a means of winning scholarship money. She was the first African-American woman to win Miss America, a pageant and title that had existed since 1921. Her memoir, You Have No Idea, documents the hate mail and death threats she received during her tenure as Miss America, and she has also noted that other minority contestants in her same year had faced similar reactions even without winning, such as Deena Graham, Miss North Carolina of 1983, who had had a cross burned on her front lawn. While Vanessa Williams was crowned Miss America 1984 in September of 1983, her tenure would only last until July. 2 months before the end of her reign, Penthouse magazine informed Williams and the Miss America organization that they would be printing nude photos of her that had been taken in 1982. The photos had been taken by photographer Tom Chiapple at a time when she was working as his assistant and makeup artist. Williams had been told the photos would be backlit, that she would not be identifiable in the finished images, and furthermore that the images would not be for display or publication. In addition, Williams had never signed a commercial release permitting publication or any kind of use in a public format, but Penthouse had already purchased the photos from the photographer and intended to print them regardless. The Miss America organization gave Williams 72 hours to resign, and Williams, although encouraged to fight to retain her crown by her fans and her mother, who was upset that the organization was not coming to her defense, opted to resign. In a lawsuit against Penthouse, Williams would discover that, while she had never signed a commercial publication release, the model release she had signed at the time could be interpreted as allowing for commercial use of the photos. She would drop the suit and Penthouse would publish the photos. The resulting issue of the magazine would bring in $14 million in profits. Vanessa Williams would never be paid for the photos. Many people expected Williams at the time to disappear into obscurity, especially given the massive amount of bullying and shaming that she was being exposed to. While she was the victim in the Penthouse case, she was targeted by late-night humorists, politicians, and public morality hounds as though she had been the perpetrator of a great crime against American decency. She nevertheless continued with her plans to pursue a career as a musician and an actress. Music had been her talent for the talent portion of the Miss America pageant, and she managed to release her debut album, The Right Stuff, in 1988 on the Wing record label. The R&B album would cross over with Dreamin', its third single, hitting number 8 on the Billboard pop charts. The Right Stuff would go platinum and would win an NAACP Image Award and garner 3 Grammy Award nominations. Her second album, The Comfort Zone, went triple platinum with 5 Grammy nominations. Meanwhile, she continued to pursue acting, with her first major role being a guest appearance on The Love Boat in 1984. She would make her professional stage debut in 1985 in a production of One Man Band, and she would appear on Broadway replacing Cheetah Rivera as Aurora in a 1994 production of The Kiss of the Spider-Woman. In 1995, she starred as Rose in a television adaptation of Bye Bye Birdie, and in 1997 she played Calypso in Hallmark Entertainment's The Odyssey. The same year, she received an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actress for her work in the movie Soul Food. In addition to her continuing film, television, stage, and music work, Williams has been an advocate for LGBT rights and campaigned for same-sex marriage laws, and she is also partnered with Dress for Success. The nonprofit organization operates in 145 cities in the United States and 20 other countries, and has helped over 925,000 low-income women by providing them with necessary wardrobe for job interviews.
Hey, look what time it is!
Did you see what... Let me guess. You're the first spirit?
Was it the dress?
I hope you know you're not getting a tip.
It's okay, I'm a spirit. Our currency is magic and creepiness.
August 1st, 1981 is emblazoned in many Gen X and millennial minds as the date that MTV came on the air, providing music videos and youth-oriented programming, as well as ultimately crafting a carefully curated, in-your-face, rebellious media image. The success of MTV led to imitators like Turner's CMC, the cable music channel. The short-lived basic cable channel was the first national competitor to MTV, and its launch coincided with MTV trying to leverage their ratings in contract negotiations with cable carriers. Turner would offer CMC to cable channels for no additional carrier fees. The channel focused on contemporary hit music, presenting itself as a softer alternative to MTV and suggesting that its video selection was more parent-friendly. Although, despite popular opinion of the time, MTV actually had very stringent content guidelines itself. The channel launched at noon Eastern Time on October 26, 1984, and its first music video, introduced by VJs Jeff Gonzer and Rachel Donahue, was Randy Newman's I Love L.A. Despite Turner's efforts to push the channel as a viable MTV alternative, it was a losing battle. MTV was already entrenched as part of the zeitgeist, and in order to compete, CMC had to offer sweetheart deals to cable carriers that ultimately lost the station money. In addition, the most popular music videos of the day aired only on MTV under airtight exclusivity agreements. By November, CMC was reaching a respectable 2.5 million audience members, but Turner decided early to cut his losses. He sold the station and all of its assets to MTV's parent company for $1 million and a promise that they would purchase a further $500,000 of advertising for MTV on Turner's other cable channels. At midnight Eastern Time on November 30th, 1984, just 5 weeks after its launch and a single day after it sailed to Warner Amex Satellite Entertainment, CMC officially shut down operations. The names of the entire crew that had operated CMC played over the music video for Randy Newman's I Love L.A., and Rachel Donahue offered some last words of farewell. She ended her statement with, "Say goodbye, y'all, now," and then an unidentified male voice was heard responding, "Goodbye, y'all," and the satellite feed was cut off. On January 1st, 1985, the space that had once been occupied by the cable music channel was once again filled with the launch of MTV's sister channel, Video Hits 1. VH1 was originally intended to focus on soft rock and pop, running music by Kenny Rogers and Donna Summer. The first video to play on the channel was a performance of The Star-Spangled Banner by Marvin Gaye. In addition to its soft rock focus, it also leaned more heavily on R&B and hip-hop than MTV did at the time. In addition, the channel would feature new age music as part of its programming, particularly in the New Visions series. The channel performed consistently well, if nowhere near MTV's numbers in its early years, but by 1994 its ratings had started to falter. In an attempt to revitalize their sagging numbers, VH1 rebranded to Music First, introducing popular shows like Video Countdown, Pop-Up Video, and VH1 Storytellers, as well as their biggest hit of the time, Behind the Music. In 1998, VH1 introduced the annual Divas concert to rave reviews and record-breaking ratings, and in 1999, they introduced Movies That Rock. It was under this label that VH1 produced 2000's A Diva's Christmas Carol. At the helm of the movie was writer-director Richard Schenkman, who had graduated from directing Playboy VHS releases in the early 90s to writing and directing movies with the indie cult hit The Pompatus of Love in 1996. A Diva's Christmas Carol stars Vanessa Williams as Ebony Scrooge, with Rosonda Chili Thomas of TLC playing the ghost of Marley Jacob, and Kathy Griffin as the ghost of Christmas Past.
With all that fame and success, come on, buddy. The road you crashed, the nightmares, the headaches. Do you have any regrets?
That's right. The role of the Ghost of Christmas Future is played by an episode of Behind the Music. That's corporate synergy and good storytelling. Ebony Scrooge is cartoonishly evil and, yeah, a lot of fun to watch. Screaming at video technicians, abusing her support staff, and plotting with her business manager to reroute her charity concert funds into her own pocket. There's a lot of great jabs at the cult of celebrity that feeds into significant political issues, such as the aforementioned charity scam, or the fact that Ebony rents herself luxury hotel suites while her entire stage crew has to bunk together in the cheapest hotels in town, highlighting the income disparity between the talent and the staff who make her work possible. After insisting her staff cancel their Christmas plans so that they can pull off a last-minute charity concert to help promote her new Christmas album, Ebony, who may be ordering expensive room service, but she's still eating at home alone, so I'm calling this a point for the bowl of gruel, is visited by the ghost of her dead singing partner, Marley Jacob. Marley and Ebony were 2/3 of the singing group Desire back in the day, but following a drug-fueled car accident, Marley is a solo act, no desperate spirits to see here, wearing the most fashionable chains that any Marley ever forged in life. A wisecracking ghost of Christmas Past, played by Kathy Griffin, shows her depressing childhood and also shows her budding and then burned to the ground relationship with Bob Cratchit. Yes, Bob Cratchit and Belle are combined into a single entity in this retelling, although this time it has the added indignity of her having mistreated Bob for years after their breakup by tormenting him constantly as her manager. But as we have seen before with female Scrooges in these adaptations, there's something very not right about the way people treat her in her past. The criticisms that she receives feel a little bit mean-spirited at the time, as they mostly consist of, well, why don't you just give up on that whole dream of yours and settle down and be a wife? Yeah, you cannot ignore the fact that Scrooge is cruel to her team now, and she shouldn't be that cruel and heartless, and she definitely shouldn't be robbing the charities that she's claiming to support. But at the same time, in her past, people have treated her as though wanting to be something beyond just a wife and a mother is somehow wrong. The Ghost of Christmas Present does drop a warning to Ebony to keep an eye out for ignorance and, greed instead of want. But the kids aren't there, which is probably for the best, given that the Steven Tyler clone with the British accent, who fills the role of Present, has an awful lot of scantily clad girls scattered around his room.
Hello, boys. Have a good night's rest. I missed you.
And as for falling into the grave, yeah, in a very interesting way, as she gets sucked through the television screen into the tragic ending of her own episode of Behind the Music. And I'm going to give a point to Merry Christmas, Bob, because while she doesn't go to the Cratchit home, she brings Bob's family, including his sick child, to him on Christmas Day. And as a final measure of how much she's changed, she lets her financial advisor know that the charity they're collecting for will actually be receiving the money they promised. Critics largely ignored A Diva's Christmas Carol when it first aired, but the film has become a cult classic with a very strong fandom behind it, and once again, I really wish that YouTube content guidelines would let me get away with playing you some of the music, because Heartquake is an absolute gem of a song. So tell me, what do you think of Vanessa Williams' dramatic turn as Ebony Scrooge in A Diva's Christmas Carol? Are you among those who count this movie as a Christmas tradition? Drop down into the comments and let me know. While you're down there, take a look at the like and subscribe buttons and make sure that you've hit those. And if you want to see more of the Film Optimist right away, the Scrooge Advent Calendar begins at the link here. And of course, you can see my Halloween countdown of Dracula's up here. Until next time, watch like it means something.